Here we go. See? We didn't say anything stupid this time.
All right.
So welcome to Gameday716, Bills Bears postgame and more. We are here today with, of course, Todd, Noah, and Paul. CJ may be joining us later. We will find out. We are live right now, unless you're watching this on YouTube later. Or listening to our podcast, then you're not watching. So here we are. First impressions of the Bills Bears. Paul, go.
Oof. Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying Mitch Trubisky is absolutely the second best quarterback in the AFC East. I don't think there's any question about it at this point. It's pretty obvious, man. He was surgical, 20 of 28. It was nice to see, because you kind of figure his career seems like it's going to take the Tannehill arc now, right? Where he's going to latch on to another team. Honestly, I'm predicting that we see Dable and Trubisky, wherever one goes, they both go after this season. I just have a sneaky feeling we're going to see that partnership happen, which will be good for both. But I think this is going to be, the Trubisky revenge game is what most people are going to remember it for. But there were some defensive standouts that we saw Rousseau again flash. I believe he had something like a 33% pressure rate on the 9 plays he was in for, which is phenomenal. He had that one sack again, so he's leading currently the team in preseason with 2 sacks. Next closest is 1.5. So
consider though they haven't started, their starters. So
yeah, exactly. But I think it was very encouraging to see our 2s beat up their 1s. It's something you love to see. I think it speaks to the depth on the team. But I loved what I saw. I think that there was some flashes here and there by quite a few guys that I really wasn't expecting to be factors in 2021. And it seems like they might be even more than just, a flash in the pan kind of, get 1 or 2 plays throughout a season from them.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Like last year.
Yeah, so we'll get to those guys.
Consistency. Yeah,
we'll get to those guys as we go. Anything else you want to add before we get Noah's impressions?
I will say that I also noticed Josh on the sideline a couple times in this game, and he's constantly hyping guys up, and I think it just speaks to the same thing that we keep regurgitating over and over and over again. Is that he's that dude. He's got those intangibles where he knows how to be a leader, and if he had just rubbed off a little bit on Jack Eichel, that'd be a different story. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, Josh and Jack Eichel rubbing is not something we need to discuss right now. So
facts.
So Noah, your impressions.
Yeah, I mean, Trubisky, like Paul was talking about, but let's talk about Reggie Gillum too, who saw a huge amount of playing time at running back, of all things, during that entire second half. Basically, it felt like he was asked today, last year you were considered a tight end on the roster. This year you're considered a fullback. What do you consider what position do you consider yourself at? And he said athlete.
Yeah. Love that answer.
Love it.
So it's a total Bills answer.
I think we have something more with Reggie Gillum than we thought. Also, obviously, defensive line, that was wild. Like, okay, yeah, if we have 18 sacks a game and a ton of forced, incompletions and rushing them out, whatever, better than last year, that's for sure. And I also want to shout out some of the players last week that we called out did better this week.
Yes.
And some that we said did well with the other like Webb. So
yeah.
But all in all,
he looked lost.
It was a good preseason game, and it was good to see that offense clicking, especially with 2s in on both sides.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it was great to see the running game going.
Mm-hmm.
I still have this fear or thought that the Bills are only going to try to run inside, because every single run was to the inside, except for Singletary's touchdown, which might show you something about maybe you want to run outside. But every other rush was really to the inside, and they just took advantage of Singletary's cuts or Moss's power.
I do want to say, though, that there were a couple times Singletary ran on the outside after you called him out last week for not being able to get to the edge. And that touchdown was him literally just going whoop, and right up
and taking off.
Well, okay, but I will say this. There was a great block by Kumaro on that play, and there was a great block by Gilliam on that. Well, sort of. Gilliam ran straight up the middle and then sort of hooked to where Singletary was going on that run. And so, but someone sealed the edge really well for Singletary. I don't think Dawkins was still in the game at that. Maybe he was. But it was either Dawkins or what's his face? Brown?
Or Doyle. Yeah, I don't know. Probably not Doyle, though. Or
Probably not
Hart,
Doyle.
So.
Yeah.
It might have been Brown. Brown had a couple nice blocks. He was one of those guys where last week he looked like butt, and then this week it looked like he was a starting right tackle.
Yeah. So
I mean, he was going up against Khalil Mack, and there was at one point where I noticed Khalil Mack try to do like that dip move that he likes, where like he gets like super low to the ground and gets underneath, and Spencer Brown just fell on him. He was like, no.
No, sit down, Khalil.
That's smart. That's a smart way to take care of that. One thing that makes me nervous right now is the tight end position. We'll get into that a little deeper.
Yeah, because they didn't look good until like the third string guys of the Bears were in.
Right.
Big Hollister was all over the place.
Right. I think we saw maybe a little depth at cornerback start to show. Obviously, we know we have the depth at defensive line. We're going to need to talk about defensive ends. We may need to talk about safeties and linebackers. So I think what we're going to try and do is form a 53-man roster out of the guys who are still here, which is 80 guys. So we got to get rid of 27 or something, assuming I can do the math. And I do math better than Noah. So, so with that said, here's where we're going to start with your quarterback guys who are locks. I think Josh and Mitch are locks at quarterback.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yes.
We all agree?
Barring somebody offering a first for Trubisky, because I mean, if that happens,
you think okay? I'm being serious here. Do you think the Bills would trade Trubisky for a first?
I think anything less than a first, and it's no. I think a first. You think?
You think they go? We could go with Davis Webb or Jake Fromm, if Josh goes down, because this is our Super Bowl year.
But here's the thing: I don't think this is necessarily the Super Bowl year, right? By signing Josh Allen to that extension, the window's wide open now. I don't think it's just a 1-year window. I think if you can get a first-round pick for a backup quarterback that's not going to be on your roster beyond this year, you do that. You take the lump for 1 year. I don't think they would re-sign him. I think if he were not to play another snap in the third preseason game or at all in the season, at some point somebody's going to come calling, and that's just based on the Chicago game, right? And that's the key here. If he enters into the third game and is not even half of that, then he hurts that stock. So if I'm the Bills and I want to see what kind of interest is out there, if I can't get more than I'm going to get in a compensatory pick after this season when he signs somewhere else, because that's going to be inevitable. He wants to start. He's not going to sign on to be a backup again. Like if I can get more than a second, if I can get a first, I'm at least here in the conversation. Now, if it's with somebody, see, the thing is, it's probably gonna be with somebody that's gonna be a pretty mediocre team at best.
Right. Because that's what I was just running through my head is what team out there either doesn't have a young guy who they're trying to get going, or like
Saints.
a guy who is there. Okay, but if I'm the Saints, don't you just think this is a dead year?
I mean, you got Michael Thomas, who was unhappy, and then you released a statement and you tried to clear the air with that. You've got Alvin Kamara. You got a lot of guys on deals that are going to be coming up on some extensions here soon. And you're only going to get worse from here rather than better. And
dead quiet.
So, like, if you're going to do something, you're going to try to make a little bit of noise this year to try to drum up some interest in your organization. Now,
how much better is Trubisky better than Winston?
Than Jameis?
Yeah,
it depends which version of each you get, if I'm being honest.
Well,
you know and I guess therein lies the problem.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think a team's going to offer a first overall pick anyway for Trubisky.
So, no,
maybe it's a moot point.
Yeah.
Okay, so Josh and Mitch are our locks. Do we think Webb or Fromm is a lock at this point?
No.
I think Fromm and Webb. I think Webb probably has a better chance to make the practice squad.
I think them playing Trubisky as long as they did also showed that they feel very comfortable holding the two quarterbacks, because I understand he played the whole first half, but I would bet you that wasn't the case, and he was just clicking and they wanted to put him in.
Maybe.
I think, and also, I mean, the way they ran the offense with him, they trusted him to make the right reads. They trusted him to roll out of the pocket, do whatever he needed to do, motion guys, change the protection, call out the mic, do all this stuff, like actually do real quarterbacking this time.
What you want in your backup quarterback is the closest thing you have.
And he looked like a Walmart version of Josh.
Yeah.
Especially when he rolled out all those times.
Yeah.
It's like, that looks like he literally learned that from Josh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are we ready to say that Trubisky is probably the best backup quarterback in the league currently?
Can
we think of anybody else that would be above him?
I mean, nobody comes to mind of anybody who had as good as a game and he did yesterday.
Right.
I think he's a good fit for what this offense does, and wherever he goes after this, they need to keep that in mind.
I think that's it. I think
he needed to go to somewhere that trusted him and trusted his arm.
Well, did you guys, I don't know, and we'll get off Trubisky in a second, I guess, but there was an article about Trubisky that, or maybe they were saying it during the game, which you guys didn't, you did, but during the game about Trubisky, the way Trubisky ended up in Buffalo.
Oh yeah, that was during the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it was, if we all saw it during the game, then isn't much to say other than he couldn't find a starting spot, couldn't find the right spot. So Brandon Beane had already been in conversations with his agent and said, hey, if you want a good spot to land a backup, and it all just kind of magically came together, right? Because that's what Brandon Beane does. He plants the seeds and the seeds grow. So, I mean, last year we thought Barkley was a good backup, right? But he was pretty terrible.
He was good in the sense that if you needed somebody to limp you to the end of the year, he could do it.
That's true.
You'd be limping, though. Very much so.
You wouldn't be. I mean, if Josh got injured last year, I don't think that. I mean, depending on when, but I don't think they're making the playoffs.
Right.
And I don't want to call any of the rookies backups, because it's like they're not.
No.
At this point.
No. I mean,
because they're saying that Trevor Lawrence, is truly fighting with Gardner Minshew for this job, and that it's Andy Dalton over Justin Fields, and
So it's
I realistically think it is Andy Dalton over Justin Fields. Although I mean,
Bridgewater, Brissett, maybe Keenum.
I would not take Keenum over Trubisky.
No, I'm just saying the guys who are there.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
I'm not taking Mariota. I might take. Who did you say first?
Bridgewater.
He did do well yesterday, and he also has been doing well. But Drew Lock's just been doing better.
Yeah.
He's been pushing Drew Lock to do better.
Yeah.
But
so that's good for the Broncos.
Yeah. So I think maybe he's either on the same level, or I would take maybe Bridgewater over Trubisky, but I mean anybody else on that list, that's
Gardner
pretty
Minshew.
garbage.
A Minshew Allen bromance though would be pretty epic to watch unfold.
That would be
right,
fun.
like entertainment value
They
only.
would grow out handlebar mustaches together.
Well, we've already got one who grew out a handlebar mustache, right? So it would just take the other.
Yeah, but
one.
he shaved it.
Did he shave?
Yeah.
Oh,
He does it every
well,
year.
that's why he's a
So I'm
backup.
saying, like, would they?
That's why he's a backup.
Yeah.
Okay, so far we're 20 minutes in and we have 2 locks on the roster.
Ooh, all right.
All right,
Let's
so
go.
running backs, we have Singletary and Moss, Breda, Taiwan Jones, Wade and Williams. Now, Wade, we know, is going to be a practice squad,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Right, because they can keep them in that special spot.
They can keep him in the special
that
spot
doesn't
again.
affect anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that. Antonio Williams, I think you can replace him with anyone on the
Literally
waiver
anyone.
wire.
Literally anyone.
So I think that's how I feel about Williams. We've had some group conversations about Taiwan Jones.
Yes, we have.
Mhm. Interestingly,
I think we all disagree.
Well, we're not
Or
all
you
on
would-
the same page.
Yeah. Are we?
Are we on the same page? I don't even know.
I don't think he's making the roster.
I don't think he is either.
I don't. I mean, you haven't seen him play, but he also hasn't been a part of like the notable guys that aren't playing. Where like McDermott's been like, all right, here you go. And I don't think he's ever been on that list.
Right. He was in pads. He's been in pads for both games. I mean, I don't know what that says exactly, but because they all have. But I mean, at first I was thinking he's done, he's dead, but he's also just a special teams ace, right? The Bills love their special teams guys. But
Yeah.
my thought on Taiwan Jones is, well, we can swing back around maybe when we get to it. Is Breda locked for the roster?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. To all the people who said that Breda and Williams were on the same wavelength of the chance of getting on the roster.
Yeah.
I think the Breida touchdown run kind of proved that that's a non-starter.
I think
Yeah.
the first run he did where he literally just ran in between everybody and then got
Yeah.
15 yards was
Right.
like, okay, yep, that's why you signed him,
Right.
because he's the only one on the roster who can do that.
Right. Though Singletary showed a nice burst. He just doesn't have that end speed that Breda has.
He can cut and he can do well, but Breida was literally just like zit, 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 like precision, like surgically, where like I feel like Singletary is more just like I'm just gonna go. that way.
Singletary is a juker. Like when you're playing Madden and you see the jukes and like it's overly done.
Yeah.
You know what
He
I
likes
mean?
that- he
Like
does the
Singletary looks
juke
like that
cuts.
to me.
Like Breida just puts his foot in the ground and that's the way he's going.
Yeah.
And like there's no one on our roster who can do that at the running back position.
Right now. If
So-
someone strange gets cut in the league, they may replace Breda, but we're gonna say that there's a third running back on this roster, whether it's Breda or
There'll absolutely be a third. And here's why. So last year, the Bills kept 3 quarterbacks and 4 running backs. So if we think that they're going to take 2 quarterbacks and stash one on the practice squad if they can, then we're already adding to numbers somewhere else over last year, which is good because that's what we want. We know we're going to run into some issues when we get to the defensive side of the ball. Running backs, we had 4. Singletary, Moss, TJ Yeldon, Taiwan Jones is what started the season. If you take
Gilliam,
And
right?
he
Or-
was a tight end, but I think
Gilliam
the
counted
reason
as a
that
tight
they
end,
kept
yeah.
Yeldon and Jones was for special teams. You don't
Correct.
need that this year.
I agree
You
with
don't.
that.
You don't
is
need
Breda
special teams guys.
is
Breda
Breda-
has been playing on special teams. I'm pretty sure in Jones's position.
that's
They
what
had him
I was
running a gunner
asking.
with Kumaro and
He's
Hemant have
the
been running a gunner. Yeah.
I
I'm
think it's-
surprised
yeah,
because
it's
he's
him
so
and
injury
Gillum.
prone. So anyway, Gilliam's gonna make the roster.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Gilliam
don't. I
makes the
think he
roster.
could have not played in the preseason, and he would have made it.
Okay. I mean, yeah, he just seems like one
Yeah.
of the McDermott Bean dream players.
And I mean,
right?
and the fact that like they can slot him in at fullback, and that's one of the things that they felt they were missing was they didn't have a fullback in during a lot of those key running downs, and
Yeah.
having somebody that can do that role, but also go in line as a tight end if you need him to, and he's developing that blocking skill set. That's what you want out of a tight end. And if he could just show a little bit of hands in the passing game, even if he's lined up as fullback, that could be a dangerous two-way weapon for the Bills moving forward.
Well, we know he has to have some hands if he was a tight end.
Yeah, exactly. So
Last year.
it's there. It's going to be interesting to see if they can put it all together and use him kind of like, I don't want to say like Isaiah McKenzie because it's two completely different roles, but
in gadget
from a gadget type of sense. Yeah, like where you could have him lined up at fullback, but then you could have him running a wheel route. You know what I mean? Like who's going to see a fullback running a wheel route? But I realistically, Gilliam might be the guy to be able to pull something like that off.
I mean, I think also the other thing that makes Jones expendable too is that Gilliam also plays on special teams.
Well, I mean, we can keep going down the list, right? I mean, Kumaro wasn't here until whatever, and now he's playing gunner, right? I mean, we can just keep going. So, I mean,
but that's generally what the McDermott regime has done. Is if you got a guy that's like on the fringe of the roster, the bottom like fourth of the 53-man roster, he tries to get those guys in with special teams. So in my view, if you see McDermott playing somebody on special teams, it's because they have a chance at making that the bottom 10 guys
definitely
making the roster. So I think that it bodes well for them that he even wants them in that position, because it shows that, hey, if you could do this too, plus what you're doing on your respective side of the ball, that's how you make this roster. And I think Kumaro's done that. I think the special teams tackle went a long way, even above and beyond touchdown and toe tap Jesus moves.
He also
shout out to Noah for the second one though.
Yeah. He also had, like I said, he also had the key block on Singletary's touchdown run. His first, his
run blocking Jesus.
His
run blocking Jesus.
And then he also had he had the special teams tackle as well, and then
the touchdown catch.
Right.
The toe tap on the
and then
side.
the toe tap. He did a little bit of everything.
He's making the roster. He had a good handful of stuff.
Plus, he's Aaron Rodgers' favorite player, so we're just gonna stick with that. Okay.
So Aaron Rodgers to the Bill scouting department in 2027 confirmed.
Possible. You never know.
Sources are telling us.
Or
so his girlfriend lives in Hollywood, right? Because she's an actress, or his future wife, whatever.
Beyonce.
What?
Beyonce?
Future wife, whatever. Fiance, yeah.
Oh, I don't
know.
I think of the word.
No, I could. I just whatever. I thought you said Beyonce.
Yeah. Yeah, he's dating Beyonce.
He absolutely is.
Her and Jay-Z are on the rocks.
They're always on the rocks, aren't they? So okay, so I don't want to talk offensive line yet.
I'm assuming we're all going to disagree, especially me, because I'm going to gut the offensive line.
We all may gut the offensive line to a point, but I think, okay, so give me 1 sec. 1, 2.
So are we going to go with
5.
Reggie Gillum as the fullback on the roster? So we're going to carry one fullback?
Yeah.
That's what he's listed as, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they switched him to fullback.
Yeah. So right now we have 6 guys on the roster with Taiwan Jones on the fringe.
Yes. Okay. What's next?
Right? I see you keep looking at your sheet.
No, I was looking down at my phone because Noah's getting shouted out in the chat of YouTube right now for his haircut.
Oh,
Grandma
thanks.
loves you.
Thank you, Grandma. Thank you. Yay.
Yay,
All right,
grandma.
what's next?
What was the question?
No, it was we have 6 guys on the roster with
Mhm.
Taiwan Jones on the fringe. That's
Oh,
where we're at
yeah.
right now.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Okay.
Wide receiver next?
Yes, because okay.
Whoa. Garoppolo only was in for like 3 series. Not even. And Trey Lance is already in, and it's still the first quarter.
Okay. So is Garoppolo the best backup in the league?
Trubisky is greater than Garoppolo.
So
I'm
the
just saying
49ers
that-
came to you and said, 1-for-1 swap.
We'll give you Jimmy G for Trubisky.
Yeah.
Oh, he got
He got hurt.
Garoppolo got intercepted.
Oh.
It wasn't really
Yeah.
his fault, but he could have thrown that a lot better. It went right off the receivers. The receiver had to outstretch for it. It went off his hands. Asante Samuel Jr. made the interception for LA.
Gonna be a good player.
Same Asante Samuel Jr. that I wanted a CB2 on the Bills.
I wanted him so bad.
So bad. All right,
Okay,
wide receivers.
Okay. Look, the fact that Levi Wallace didn't even play, CB2 is locked.
Yeah.
It's done. We're not talking about it. There's no need to.
Moving right on.
Levi Wallace is set as CB2. It's good. Dane Jackson did not look great. He
Yeah.
did not look as good as Levi even.
Mm-mm.
So I mean, we'll leave it at that, in my opinion. Not my opinion. It's not my opinion. I'm telling you right now, Levi Wallace is CB2, and we don't need to talk about it anymore. So receiver, we
I
have
agree.
Diggs, who was voted the 11th best player in the league by his.
I think he's on the fringe.
Yeah, he might be in
Yeah.
trouble, but
He's on the bubble for sure.
He was
Yeah.
the best wide receiver overall last year.
Yeah.
I don't know if he showed enough.
Diggs, Beasley, Davis, McKenzie, Sanders. 5 are locks.
Yes.
Last year we had 6 on the roster.
Last year we
I
carried
think we-
6, and
I
we're
think
gonna
we could see 7.
yes.
Yes.
So, here's the okay. So we used to talk about the 7th being Hodgins, and now we're talking about the 7th being
Marquez Stevenson.
Yep. Because we
Agreed.
have Kumaro at 6.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, Hodgins got injured again. Like,
I just
sorry,
don't
dude,
think.
but like,
That's what I was like, he's injured again. I think I texted you and I
Yeah.
used swear words.
Yes.
Swear words.
yeah, you did.
And here's the thing: if there's a guy that's going to get picked off of waivers, if we try to get him to the practice squad, it's going to be Marquez Stevenson way before it's
Hodgins.
Hodgins will make the practice squad.
He'll make the practice squad just fine. So like let's stash him there. The injury might actually bode well for all of that. And actually some injuries might bode well with the practice squad overall right now. But yeah, I would agree. Stevenson, just because of that speed and what it can afford you. You know, you definitely want to groom him to be the new McKenzie at some point, because you may want to have McKenzie eventually in the Beasley role, depending on, you know, whether or not Beasley gets, you know, re-signed after these 2 years are up. And we're going to need a slot guy.
Yeah.
And
And
McKenzie
that
looked
could be McKenzie.
great against Chicago, and he was playing a lot in the slot.
Is Chicago any good? I mean, I want to put that out there just in general. Is Chicago any good? Are they going to be good this season?
No. But I mean, but the fact that I think he did as well as he did. I mean, he was super noticeable.
Against the
last week, right? I said, like, I really don't think McKenzie's making this roster, especially if they want to keep 6 wide receivers. And
now
we had to come up with a way to keep 7 because they're just, yeah.
Right.
Well, we know he's a lock when McDermott's coming out and saying he gave me chills.
I mean, the other part is like, still, as good as McKenzie looked, I still think if you were to cut him, you could replace him with Marquez Stevenson, and it would be a little bit of like a change. But I still don't see what McKenzie's doing that's so much greater than everybody else. Like he's doing well. I'm not saying he's not. I don't understand. I just don't see what he's doing. Like he is a lock because you don't play him that much,
They love him.
and they love him.
I think that's it.
The part of it is
I
I don't
agree with
understand
you.
why. I guess
I agree with you. Part of it may be personality and fit in the room, right?
true.
And Stevenson, they just may feel isn't ready.
Oh, and I don't think he is because I mean he's shown a couple times where like to be a little shaky.
I mean, this is Mackenzie's third year.
Yeah, or something. I don't know.
I believe so.
26, 5. This is his 5th year.
Fifth year. Okay.
So
well, I mean, it may have just taken in this long to click for him.
it also may have taken him this long to click in this offense.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think this year is
This will be the 4th year for him,
honestly, because like
4th year. Okay.
Yep.
So he's in okay. So 3rd, 4th year are generally when guys start to get it together.
Yeah, I think this is what we'll see out of Mackenzie.
I mean, I think he's among the guys that like Dawson, Knox, and Singletary, where you're going, this is make or break. To me,
I don't know that it's make or break. I think it's just you count on him now, or at least the coaching staff is counting on him.
Yeah, I
the
mean,
coaching staff is saying he is an established part of our offense.
I mean, it's just that with Stevenson,
where do you stand on that, Paul?
And everything, it's just like. Go ahead.
Here's my hot take about Mackenzie. I think we see more of him as a traditional wide receiver and less of him as a gadget player. And if Stevenson makes the roster as wide receiver 7, we see the jet sweeps going to Stevenson, and we see whether or not Isaiah McKenzie can play wide receiver in the NFL as even a wide receiver 4 or 5. Now,
that's what I think.
Show he can do that.
Perfect.
Then you're
maybe
that's
where the make or break comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you take that next step? Okay, we know
you're
a
Robert
gadget
Foster.
player, right? We know you're a gadget player. We know you're fast, but can you take that next step to be like, I deserve to be on this roster because I can catch better than he can. I can run routes better than he can.
Right? Because I guess that goes back to what you were saying, Paul. And I guess it goes into both of your points in the sense that make or break on whether you can replace Beasley. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you be the Beasley replacement? Because if you're not, we got to find somebody else who can.
We got to find somebody else.
The next guy.
Yeah.
But we're going to throw you in the mix and you're going to play wide receiver this year and you're making the roster. But we're bringing in Stevenson we're bringing in Speedy as number 7. We're carrying 7 and he's going to do all the gadget plays. You play receiver and you either sink or swim.
Stevenson's faster. Yeah. Right? Yeah, Stevenson ran like a 3.9 or something. No, I'm kidding.
No,
but
you say both.
No, he ran really fast. And he is really fast. You can see it. And I'm more comfortable with Stevenson in the return game. Mackenzie, I wrote this in major, huge letters that I do not trust him in the return game. I do not trust him to catch punts.
I mean, he dropped that one, and that was just
hit him on the numbers.
Drop, like that was really bad.
Yeah,
it hit him in the numbers.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
There was also no one around him.
Exactly.
All you had to do was cradle.
Yeah,
and that's why he was able to get the ball back because he chased it down for 9 yards.
Well, that was the other part.
He was going full speed.
Like he was also really struggling to find that ball and to get to where the spot where the ball is. Like he couldn't tell where it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wish they had the all 22 because I would like to see that punt from the coach's ankles and see if maybe it was like a knuckleball or something. Like maybe the punter didn't hit it right.
Oh, I rewound it about 6 times. It was a spin. Everything looked normal.
Yeah, I mean we
can go upstairs and watch it. I have it on record.
You'll never find a returner that will be perfect. But when you're talking about the preseason,
I don't know, man. Last year with Andre Roberts, I did not feel uncomfortable at a single point.
Well, I'm saying like you'll never have a returner who won't at least make a mistake.
Sure.
But like
Andre Roberts, his mistake was like, I'm going to bring this out despite it being 6 yards deep. And
I'll still return it to the 20.
Yeah, I'll still get it to the 20.
But I'll get it to, but it was like
25.
Right. But it was like, he'll still get it to the 20.
Yeah.
It was never like
he
gets tripped up at the 11.
Yeah.
And that too. I mean, it was like, he's good, as a returner. And that's where he made his niche. Right. Mm-hmm. So I just want to go through receivers and say practice squad or just cut. So Tanner Gentry.
Practice
squad.
Okay. Lance Lenoir.
I think that they're going to try to stash him on the practice squad too. I
do
think
too.
Duke Williams is the cut candidate here.
Okay, I'll say Duke next.
Cut.
And
Sorry,
then,
Duke fans.
it's
no.
time for the Blue Devil to go.
time.
I mean, he dropped 2, and they were like,
Go
both
back
his
to the
fault.
CFL, man.
Like,
they're ready.
I'll
for
always be a Duke fan, though.
Same.
I'll always be a Duke fan, but it's time.
Yep. And then Powell is the last one.
Cut. He's third in the list of that type of receiver. We got right now McKenzie, Stevenson, and then Powell. And I saw he returned a kick. Wasn't bad. Like he fielded it.
He was a kick returner for Atlanta 1 year, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know that he brings enough. Like he doesn't bring Stevenson speed, and he doesn't bring McKenzie's growing route tree awareness and his ability to actually run a plethora of routes. I don't see Powell doing what either one of those guys do better than they do it. So I think that he's the odd man out, and I wouldn't stash a third type of same receiver on the practice squad.
Okay. So Powell and Duke are cut. Then or Hodgins and Gentry, I'll make the practice squad.
I only have Hodgins going in Gentry.
I don't think Gentry makes the practice squad if Hodgins goes. 26.
Yeah. Well, but he's only been in the league 1 year.
It doesn't matter. He's 26.
Yeah, but I think it's based on how long you've been in the league, not how old you are. The rules of the practice squad.
Oh, yeah. No, that's
he's
not my
just
point.
talking from he's an aging wide
standpoint.
receiver in his development. Like
I don't know.
you can get a guy 4 years younger.
I mean, I
that-
wouldn't be surprised
Right,
if
college
honestly
probably
the
the
only
same
one
thing.
who makes it out of that group is Hodgins on the practice squad. Because I
Yeah.
feel like there are other positions.
I just
where you're gonna
I think
want
they
top
like
guys.
Lamar. Lenoir.
I do too. I think they really like him. I think that he
I
made
think you
very
can like
he
players
very well
all you
made.
want, but when it comes down to like,
Well,
don't know,
we'll
guys
figure
later
we'll
on in
figure
this
it out.
list versus him.
We'll figure it out when
I
we
wouldn't
get
be
there.
shocked to see Lamar get picked up by another squad. I don't like he very easily could make somebody else's 53. Duke isn't making somebody else's 53, I don't think.
No, he should go back to the CFL and go where he
Or
belongs.
Duke.
Or Duke.
We love you, Duke.
But it's time.
Mhm.
It's time for us to let you go.
Yep. And to move on to tight ends.
Time to move on to tight ends. Okay.
Sorry, Duke. Didn't even give him any time. Moment of silence for Duke.
Okay.
All right, tight ends.
Tight ends. So there's a player named Howard who I've never seen on the field.
Bug Howard. He suits up, never
Yeah.
lines up.
Never plays in the kicking game. From what I've told, what I've seen.
I don't think I've seen an 81 out there, like ever.
So we good saying he's not making the roster
Yeah.
or the practice
Yeah,
squad?
but Bug Howard probably isn't making practice squad or the roster now.
Okay. So let's say Knox and Hollister are locks.
Yep.
Yes.
I think we're gonna have so last year we carried 4 tight ends, but that was including Gilliam. We're counting Gilliam as a fullback, so we'll say 3 tight ends. 3 tight ends last year.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go Knox and Hollister, I think your third is Sweeney. Like I think those 3 are your 3 tight ends. I don't know that Nate
Sweeney's
Becker
hurt
or Quentin
again.
Morris do anything exceptional.
I think they have to. I mean,
Okay, so we'll say let's say Sweeney's a fringe.
yeah.
Okay. So who could potentially take that third spot? So it's
I
between
don't think they
Sweeney and
have
who?
anybody.
So like wouldn't Sweeney
Um,
just, even though he's French, he would kind of make it by default. Well, I mean, we could list him as French, and then when we get to the end, if we still have some roster
I think
spots
they
open,
carry
then we'll
2.
choose between fringe guys.
I think they carry 2. And use
But-
Gilliam in a pinch during a game.
Yeah, you're right, because Gilliam is fullback / tight end, gives you that flexibility.
Right. And then if somebody's out, like if Knox goes down and is out for 8 weeks, then you have Becker stashed on the practice squad or somebody
Or Sweeney.
or Sweeney on the practice squad.
What? No love for Bug?
No love for Bug. Sorry.
Yeah, I think they roll it too. I think they also have to roll it too because I have a feeling like when we get to the defense, we're gonna run into some
That's
issues.
yeah. Not so much offensive line because I think this is enough, and maybe not defensive line. We'll see. It's gonna be interesting when we get to both lines. I think we save offensive line and defensive line for the last two, and we
Okay.
move on to linebackers and corners and safeties next,
Okay. You go with
and then
that?
end with the
Yeah,
trenches.
So let's do corners.
Corners. So corners last year, we carried 5.
Yeah.
White, Norman, Wallace, Johnson, Saran, Neal.
So I'm gonna say right. Trey, Levi, Neal, and Johnson are 4 out of your 5.
So Trey. So we got Trey White,
Mhm.
Taron Johnson, Saran, Neal, Levi Wallace. Those
and
are our
Levi.
4.
So you have
So we
4
think
out of
that-
5 there. So
I think
fine.
I
even
think
though
Dane still
Neal
makes
looks
it.
like hot doo-doo in these past 2 games. I
Yeah.
don't think they're gonna get rid of him.
They're not getting rid of Neal.
No, because the fact that he can go and play corner or safety means that
Right.
they have
He
depth
should've
there
never
without
been
needing.
injured.
No, they shouldn't have ever moved him to corner, in my opinion, either. Like keeping him at safety was, but safety's overloaded, and he probably would have been the odd man out there because I think with
Play the
we'll get to
Jamal
that in a second,
Adams type of safety.
He's not that big though.
It doesn't matter, honestly. That would give him.
Josh Thomas
plays
has a better
better
chance
to
of
his
being that guy.
strengths.
I think so too. Yeah. Or Tariq Thompson, even. I mean, not that he's making the roster, but
No,
Tariq
but
Thompson.
from like a body comp
Right.
perspective,
So we're saying Dane Jackson's the other one.
I think so because I don't think you can, with how much action he's gotten in the preseason, albeit it isn't elite. I feel like he may not make it to the practice squad, and I'm not ready to like call it quits on him. So I
Yeah.
think that you have to make him CB5 in order to guarantee that you don't lose him. Like I don't want to. There's certain guys I'm willing to roll the dice on. We saw too many flashes of Dane, and I think he just needs a little bit more coaching. Like I think he just keeps working in his craft a little bit. He could be a serviceable, CB3 or CB2 in the future.
So
I think you keep him on as 5.
Are we going to agree that they're only carrying 5?
Yeah, I don't think Griffin. Even though McLeod had the interception, but like, I don't think those 3 guys have done it. Like Griffin, McLeod, and Wild Goose have done anything.
And Lewis.
And Lewis did it. Well, Lewis got hurt. So, but
Yeah.
those 3 guys.
Did he get hurt?
He didn't come back. So
I didn't see
The good
anything
news
about,
is,
like
I
an
think you can
injury.
keep the 3 of them. Wild
That's
Goose,
what I would-
Griffin, and McLeod on the practice squad. I think all 3 of those guys would clear waivers. Now, maybe you don't want to keep all 3 of them. Maybe there's only 2 you want to keep out of the 3, but I think all 3 of them would clear waivers and you'd be able to stash them on the practice squad.
And Lewis would clear waivers.
probably.
So let's
Cam Lewis
talk,
might be the
let's talk
fringe
about
guy.
those. Let's talk about those. Okay, so that you think Cam Lewis is next man up, not McLeod?
I think
I don't know McLeod. He just flashed because of the interception. I only saw him a couple of times pop on tape. So I don't know. It wasn't like I was like, oh my gosh, he just broke up that pass. It was more of, okay, he was in the right place at the right time.
Okay, so who are you throwing on the practice squad? McLeod and Lewis?
McLeod and no, I don't even think I would stash Lewis. Oh yes, but I only keep 2 on the practice squad. I don't think Wild Goose is like, I don't even think
what do those all guys? All those guys are the same player, in my opinion.
They're not though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Elijah Griffin is not good.
I think
he's better than Wild Goose.
I know, but I don't know that they want
because
to
of
give
run
up on a
support.
draft pick.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You keep
Wild
the
Goose
draft
looked
pick
better
over
than
the
Griffin
undrafted
anyway.
guy. In coverage, in run support, I would give the edge to Griffin.
I would
This
say
game.
in this game, sure.
That's
in
what I was
game
saying.
1, Wild Goose looked completely
They
lost.
both looked lost. So
He looked like a chicken with
and
his
then
head
Wild
cut off,
Goose
not
took
a
the step
goose
up while
at
Griffin,
all.
Like
I
a
don't
wild
think, even
chicken.
played.
Yeah, like a wild chicken.
I think Griffin barely played this week. I don't remember hearing his name.
I saw him. I took a note.
But the
that said,
best thing about
he came up
cornerbacks
and
are
run
when you
support.
don't hear them.
Yeah. I think if you could put all,
That was
I think
my
if you could-
Rich Gannon
You might be able to, depending on what you do with the rest of the roster. I think that there's going to be a couple of these fringe guys that when we get through all the positions, we're still going to have spots left on the 53. I think we're going to have 1 or 2 spots left when we're done. And we're going to be able to go back to some of the fringe guys and say which of the fringe guys are going to make the 53, knowing we got 2 open spots though. So maybe just table this until we get to the end and see if we have any open roster spots, because that might change the dynamic of who we throw in the practice squad.
True.
Yeah. Cam Lewis suffered some cramp. Oh, it was a cramp.
Yeah, it was cramping. Okay.
Cam was cramping. He's all right.
Cam was cramping. He's okay. Safeties. Okay, I'm gonna go. I think Hyde and Poyer are okay. Hamlin.
Yep.
We kept 3 last year.
Keeping more than that.
Are we?
I think we're keeping 4.
I think Josh Thomas has a very real chance to go from
I think Josh
undrafted rookie to making a 53-man roster.
Okay. If you two are in agreement with Thomas, then
I like Thomas over Jaquan Johnson, and I like Jaquan Johnson. If Hamlin's making the roster,
no doubt.
He's my number 3 safety.
We know. You have man love for Hamlin. So
I do.
It's all good.
But I think that we're going to get our second elite Josh on the roster, and Josh Thomas is going to end up. He's eventually going to take over for one of our starting safeties
as starters, and we're all over the place.
When Hamlin
caused that fumble, and Hamlin was there to get it.
I think we're going to be.
Think Josh Thomas.
I think we're
roster.
and I think in the next 2 years or so, we're going to see Hamlin Thomas man the back end, and
are Tariq Thompson or Jaquan Johnson making the practice squad?
Jaquan Johnson probably won't clear waivers, but if he does, the Bills would absolutely put him on. But Jaquan Johnson would be my fringe guy for safeties. I like him over Tariq.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like Josh Thomas more.
Honestly.
Like Josh
The
Thomas
thing about
reminds
Tariq-
me a lot of Poyer.
The thing about Tariq is, he does. Like I feel bad for Tariq Thompson because they switched him from linebacker to safety and said, do this. And then like, now he's not going to make it, but I guess that's how it goes.
Right.
Right.
Sorry. It's a business. Like you're not really doing anything.
Right. I mean,
What's
I
the
guess
point?
if you're not going to make it as linebacker, then okay. So speaking of linebackers,
Speaking of linebackers, we carried 6 last year. If we want to be D-line heavy, I think that this is the position group that is going to have to at least go 1 down. So I would say we probably are looking at 5 linebackers.
and we know 4 of them,
Yeah.
Yep.
Matakevich, Milano.
Edmonds and Klein.
Yeah.
And Klein. So we only have 1 other spot.
One open
And
spot.
the only reason why Klein is making it is because if they cut him, it's stupid.
No,
Yeah.
Klein's making the
Yes.
roster regardless. And I mean, they haven't played. We know he's making it. So
He's making it.
So there's 4.
I like Tyrell Dodson. I do. But I think Andre Smith has showed me more.
Mhm.
And I think
Also,
because
you
of
didn't hear
that,
Giles Harris yesterday after last week, his
Yeah,
explosion.
it
I
blew
saw
up in the
Andre
first.
Smith everywhere. I mean, Andre Smith was in coverage with a wide receiver at one point.
Okay, it was
Yeah.
Adams who made the hit on Fields, right?
No, it was Andre Smith.
it was Andre Smith.
It was Andre
Oh.
Smith.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like the 15-yard
bad.
penalty. And if he lifts his head up before he makes contact, I don't think it's called. But he was having a
Fields
lot of
also
fun on
talked.
Twitter last
Fields
night.
Fields did duck. Yeah. So he dropped his head down a little bit. Whatever. You can't do it. You can't go spearing a quarterback. Whatever. But
That's not
So
on
who
him,
would
in my opinion.
be our fringe linebacker at 6?
Harris
keeping
or
5.
Dodson, probably, I would say.
Dodson.
I would probably say Dodson just because of familiarity with the system.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if Harris shows out in the 3rd game, maybe, and Dodson doesn't do anything, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think.
I'm just looking.
I don't
Okay.
think Tyrell Adams making the roster. I
Is
don't think Marco Lee,
which is
is
crazy to
making
me,
the
right?
roster.
Like after being
he had
so,
100
like,
and
all over
something
the- yeah.
tackles? Okay, I'm just making sure that this is the guy we're talking about.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what has he done? Andre Smith's look better than him. Joe
Yeah.
Giles Harris has looked better than him. Tyrell Dodson's look better than him. Matakevich has looked better than him.
Okay.
I mean, cool. You did all that stuff and you've been in the league for 5 years, but you have come to our team and haven't shown us anything. And
We
that's the
think-
same thing with Marco Lee.
You guys think Smith is a lock?
Yes.
I do. I really do. I think he's like I think they're putting him on the field to see like how much he can handle.
He was a
But
starter.
he keeps showing out. Like barring anything crazy happening in this third preseason game, like
Okay, he played.
I have him above Matakevich from a defensive standpoint. Matakevich goes a notch above because of his special teams ability. And I still hold that rep against him from the first game. Like when you check to slide your defensive line and then you don't check it back when the receiver goes back across the formation, is just like that can't happen in game regular season. Like and that still bothered me, and I didn't see it come up in the second game.
I know it did, because the very first play he checked.
I missed it.
It didn't do it right, but they
Oh,
never
yeah,
motioned
see?
back, so
Oh,
he didn't
okay.
have to do it. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, the very first play he checked,
I missed it.
and I was like, oh,
I missed the first series of Chicago's. Like I missed their first offensive series by the time I
the
got
ball
in front of
first
the.
because we deferred.
Yeah.
And on the very first play, they did
Oh,
a
of
motion and
course.
he checked them down.
All right, Matakevich.
So
That's
Dodson,
awesome.
we're trying to get to the practice squad.
Mhm.
If he doesn't, we put Giles Harris there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like guys like Marco Lee and like Tyrell.
No,
Adams.
Lee isn't making it.
I mean, those two guys haven't you haven't heard them. You haven't heard anything from them.
I know, but you know what? Like, and I'm going to go back to a Marv Levy adage here about Adams, and it's when you perform, like performance sometimes makes a decision before just flat out talent, and or what you see during preseason, especially, you know. So it just depends on. To me, I mean, when Adams had 120 something tackles last year, that says something.
And I'm not saying it doesn't, but I think
So-
you can also sit here and look at the Bills linebackers and be like, do we really need to find a spot for this guy? Do we need him? Like, cool, he can tackle a lot. Do we really need another guy who can fly all over the field and tackle a lot? I mean,
I've got a bold prediction for linebackers now, because I just thought of the most Brandon Bean move possible with our linebackers. What if he doesn't really play much of Andre Smith in game 3? And here'd be the intention. Andre Smith doesn't play much in game 3. Tyrell Adams does, and he's all over the field. Logs like 10, 11 tackles, right? You
Then he
let him
trades
play
him for a
almost the whole
fifth
game.
or whatever.
And you trade him for a 5th, and then you bring it, and then you still end up putting Andre Smith onto like you,
Yeah.
because you don't want to just cut a guy like Tyrell Adams who did what he
Yeah,
did last year.
I
Like you've got to find a way
get
to
that.
you've got to find a way to do something with him, and that might be the only way, is to just put him in position to where he can't fail, and he's gonna like just rack up some stats, look good, and it's like, okay, hey, we'll trade this guy to you for a 5th or whatever the case may be.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about the interesting stuff now.
I know. Right?
Go ahead.
All right. Well, yeah.
Okay, so Noah's going to take off. It's going to be me and Paul.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Noah's got to split.
We'll hold it down, Noah.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Sorry.
I'm moving to the middle.
Oh yeah.
Well, talk about the interesting stuff now that I'm gone.
Yep.
Yeah, we will. Hello, we're gonna have a blast, Noah. So I think we might as well log in Bass, Hawk, and Ferguson as the specialists.
Yes. Yes, and I meant to do that. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I meant to do that too.
They're locks. We didn't even bring in competition. That's how confident we were. Like, no, these are our guys.
Okay. So let's let's get to the fun stuff.
Yeah. Which line first?
Let's finish the offense.
Okay. So offensive line.
Mhm.
Offensive line last year, we had 10.
Yep.
We had 10 offensive line, 9 defensive line last year. So we'll keep that in mind as we go through this. But I think your locks as your 5 are Mitch Morse, Dean Dawkins, Daryl Williams, John Feliciano, Cody Ford. I think those 5 automatics.
Yep.
I think Spencer Brown is making the team as your swing tackle. So that's 6.
Yep.
I think Ike Butker has shown too much over the years to not make the roster. There's your 7th. And then I am open for debate on the rest. Yes. Bobby Hart's gone. Just erase him from existence at once.
You know what? He's not even on my list.
Good. As
like not
be.
even on purpose. I didn't even do that on purpose. But he's not even on my list as I look at it.
That makes it better. That makes it so much better. Yeah.
So
Bobby Hart's not going to be here.
So I think Ryan Bates is a good enough move around the line guy.
Yeah.
Where he can play multiple positions.
Yep.
And he can back up Morse in case anything goes down because you don't have Feliciano is that guy, right?
Yeah, Feliciano slides over. So you would ideally want a guard. And I'm gonna bring up this person because I don't think you're gonna get this person in the practice squad. Maybe. Did you see the Jack Anderson rep where
I did? I mean, I saw it. I thought
there was an end coming, and then like he turned his focus because there was somebody else rushing. It might have been the DT. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look at the film again. Pancakes him, like takes the guy completely off of his feet. And I don't want to risk losing that. And I know like we took him. So yeah, I would pick Jack Anderson because he looked good inside. And I think to the point you just made with Feliciano being able to slide in to center if anything happened to Mitch Morse, you'd want somebody that could kick in and play guard. Now you have that in Butker and in Cody Ford, who could be interchangeable left and right, but you don't want a third guy.
I look at these guys and I think they're going to pick someone up on waivers because it just doesn't make sense. Like,
well, Jack Anderson would give us 8, right? That puts us up to 8 if we take Anderson.
Well, I circled Tommy Doyle too.
Tommy Doyle looked rough in the second game. Looked decent.
I don't think
good in the first game. Yeah, that's the problem. And that's a problem that we're going to have on the offensive line is that there's going to be. I think you're right though. Like we very realistically could bring in somebody to be that 8th or 9th offensive lineman that's better than what we have on the roster. But I can't think of somebody that was drafted is realistically probably going to get picked up off of waivers and be this year's Wyatt Teller. Like that's, I feel like that's we're going to see that happen again, which I mean is good and bad. It shows that Brandon Beane can draft linemen, but it also shows that there's some guys that leave the Bills and then go on to have, remarkable seasons.
Right.
So now I hope that doesn't happen again because linemen don't grow on trees, not elite ones, but
right. And if whoever they cut goes on to be an elite lineman and you're stuck with Cody Ford as your right guard.
Yeah, that's problematic.
I mean, don't you think
2 guards?
Think about that now. Like if you had Wyatt Teller at right guard right now.
Oh my God, your offensive line would be ridiculous.
And Cody Ford wouldn't be on the team.
No. Well, he may be your 3rd guard up, but I think Butker would probably be above Cody Ford. So
as a backup, yeah,
you could be right. You very well could be right.
And then there's
one
Forrest
of
Lamb.
the rare misses. Yeah, who we really he didn't flash it all to me yet. Like I haven't seen he hasn't stuck out for. I don't even know. Like that's what I mean.
He's hurt.
It's possible. I
I think he's
I don't
hurt.
have him listed in any of my notes.
Yeah, I think he's hurt, and so they obviously haven't been playing him because he's hurt. So
Yeah, early August he suffered a right ACL tear. So I
okay, so
mean,
they can put him on the IR and see
yeah,
where he is at week 3, and
and then
then
see what happens.
yeah, um,
So that at least defers that decision for a minute. And you never know, you might have some offensive lineman needy team
mhm,
at some point that comes calling, and then you got this guy stashed on IR.
right.
There's some things you could do there. I think that most of the other guys are gone. Jordan Devy, he's gone. Jamil Douglas gone. Tommy Doyle, that's an interesting one because I think that he got outplayed for some reason in game 2. Like he just seemed like he was getting moved around so much. Not
Well,
in a good
maybe
way. I mean, he was getting pushed
maybe
back.
week 3 he's a week 3 got to
Yeah, like
show.
hey, you got to show us by week 3, otherwise Forrest Lamp is taking your spot. Yeah, I mean it's possible.
Something.
I can see
Yeah,
that. It's plausible.
yeah. So what do we got? 9?
Yeah, that gives us 9 if we keep Doyle on, and then we put Forrest Lamp on IR, get rid of everybody else. I don't really even see any offensive linemen making the practice squad, but I'm sure you could probably put one on there that you like. I don't.
I think
Nobody's
they'll
sticking
grab
out to me.
somebody else who's out there
Yeah, agreed.
to put on the practice squad.
So let's go to defensive line. And then after this, we'll tally it up, see how many of the 53 we got figured out, see how many open roster spots we have left, and then we'll see what kind of last second tinkering we can do with fringe guys.
Yep.
So last year we had 9 defensive line, but we only took 9 offensive linemen. So we could shoot for 10 defensive linemen and then see where we land after that.
Okay.
Because I think we could easily find 10.
Sorry. I know like the paper is really annoying right now.
No, you're good. You're good. So I think your starting ends and your starting tackles are as follows: Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison, Ed Oliver and Star Lotulelei. I think those are your first 4 guys up.
Let's do ends first.
Okay, so let's go with ends first. I think your ends: Hughes, Addison, Epinesa, Rousseau, Basham. There's 5. I think Obata and Daryl Johnson both also make it, which gives us 7.
I agree.
I think they're going to go with 7, and that's going to leave us with like 3 spots for defensive tackle. But I think that we're going to end up having the room for a 4th if we so choose. So Ed Oliver and Star Lotulelei are the locks. That brings us up to 9. And then I think it's between Harrison Phillips, Vernon Butler, and Justin Zimmer. And
We have to find out
one or two
the
spots.
extent of Phillips's injury, right?
It's only week to week. It's not. So from what I understand,
Diggs.
it's nothing that McDermott thinks is going to be a long-term type of injury, but it is to the same knee that he damaged in 2019.
Right.
That is a concern. Now, from what I understand, he doesn't need any surgery or anything like that. So it doesn't seem to be anything serious per se. But this might be a good candidate to, if he's not ready by the end of preseason week 3, like he's made no progress at all, and now you're starting to worry, is he going to be ready to go by the first week of the season? Then I think you put him on IR and this decision changes a little bit, because you could bring him back after 3 weeks. So right now, knowing what we know, let's assume that Harrison Phillips is going to be able to play week 1 until we find out that he can't. So as of right now, we'll assume he's not going to be on IR. I have Harrison Phillips as the next guy up at DT, ahead of Vernon Butler and Justin Zimmer. And honestly, I'd probably put Zimmer ahead of Butler.
That's what I have.
So if we have an extra roster space, like I think you might want to throw Justin Zimmer onto the 53. So if we just put Harrison Phillips in there, where does that currently bring us as far as a total roster is concerned?
Give me 1 sec.
Yeah, no, take your time. And while you count that up, just going to take a look and see if I see anybody that would be fringe guys that would probably be candidates to.
I think Vernon Butler is fighting for his job right now. I
think so
honestly
too.
think they're carrying 4 defensive tackles.
Yeah, and I think he's the odd man out. Unless Harrison Phillips goes on IR, then you keep Vernon Butler until week 3. And unless he explodes onto the scene, Harrison Phillips is ready to go. You get rid of Vernon Butler, you call back up Harrison Phillips. The only way right now, before preseason week 3 happens and we face them, like I think that he's on the outside looking in right now. And the only chance he has is if Harrison Phillips can't make it week 1. And it's going to be very interesting to see which of these guys make the practice squad, because the problem the Bills are going to have this season compared to any other season in recent or even long-term memory is that there are some guys on this roster that will not make the Bills 53 that will latch on and make somebody else's 53. I think we're going to see more than one player that happens to. And
I definitely agree.
That just speaks volumes about the job that Brandon Beane and his team have done in compiling this roster to be as deep as it is. I can't really think of maybe more than 1 or 2 teams that have the depth that the Bills have, that you could look at the roster and say, hey, there's guys on 54 through 80. They're going to latch on somewhere else. I don't think you can say that about too many teams in the league right now, but I think the Bills are absolutely one of those teams. And I wouldn't be shocked to see 3 or 4 guys latch on with another 53 at some point.
I am in agreement with you. How many tight ends did we keep? We kept 2.
We kept Knox and Hollister. With Tommy Sweeney was our fringe guy. Yeah. Because we have Gilliam as fullback tight end. So he technically would be able to, figure in his tight end 3 if need be. But if we have some open roster spaces, it's gonna be interesting, because we had some fringe guys like Cam Lewis, like Tommy Sweeney, like I don't know that linebacker wise, it might be the difference between being able to keep Dodson or not, grabbing another offensive lineman. I don't see us carrying more than 3 running backs though. So I think that's a moot point. We found a way to have 7 wide receivers on the roster. It's gonna be interesting. I'm really hoping we don't end up with 54, because that would be really unfortunate right now. Because then
can you repeat that? You're hoping what?
I'm hoping we don't end up with 54 when you finish the count, because then we're going to have to cut somebody. Yeah. Be addition by subtraction.
The
third preseason game doesn't, to me, feel like it's going to change a heck of a lot of where the coaching staff is with their 53-man roster. I think what they're going to use preseason game 3 for is going to be as an audition for some of the players that they know. Look, you're the bottom 25. There's no chance, but hey, show out, put some good tape together, because you might end up with another team. Yes, because you're not good enough for this 53 doesn't mean you're not good enough to play in the NFL. It just means this roster's kind of loaded, and you're coming in at a rather interesting time in Buffalo Bills history. But I think you're going to use it as a way to increase people's value, to maybe be able to trade them. Yeah. One of the things that I think that you'll run into is that some of the.
Hold on for a sec, Paul.
Yep.
Oh. Yeah. You what? Gotcha. Okay. Take a breath. Where are you? Yeah. It's all right. Seems like we're wrapping up the show. Let me wrap up the show, and then we'll take care of it, okay? Don't be. It's all right. Okay? Bye.
Family comes first.
Yes, family comes first. We got to 51.
Always. 51. So we got 2 fringe guys. I
Yep.
think we should give one of those spots to Tommy Sweeney. I think that in limited action, and just because he's worked his way back, like I would like to carry 3 tight ends just because he showed a little bit of willingness as a blocker as well. And I don't know that Jacob Hollister is an inline blocker. Dawson Knox is, but
I think your other guy is Taiwan Jones.
oh, you think so? It might be.
I think
Because
it
I
is.
can go with we found a way to keep 7 receivers. I am happy
or
with the
or it's
defensive
Dodson.
line.
But I think
I
they
don't
value
need Dotson
Jones.
though.
I think they value
Yeah.
Jones more than Dodson.
I think so too. I think we found a way to keep Taiwan Jones on the roster. All right, Taiwan Jones, you're the 53rd man on the roster. You literally just made it by the skin of
Way
your
to
teeth,
go,
my
buddy.
guy. Good
Or
job.
we could keep Davis Webb, I guess.
He made it to practice after that second preseason game. He ain't gonna. He'll clear waivers. He'll be fine. We can get him back on the practice squad. I think he's got another year of eligibility.
Sounds good.
But that gives us our 53.
It does. So, or we can go for defensive tackles, but I think you have too many defensive ends who can move inside.
Yeah, and they've messed with that a lot over the course of the preseason, and I like the way that looks. Especially, it looks like they've been playing Basham a lot interior as well. So you're right. I think and Obata. So I think that there's definitely ways for those guys to be able to figure in. I think you're going to have some pass rush situations where you have 4 DNs on the field at once. I don't think you need more than 3 DTs. And again,
well, I'm sorry. I meant
Phillips
we could get to 5. We could get to 5. We're carrying.
Oh, so we have 4. So we have Zimmer.
That's with us carrying 4. Yeah, Phillips and Zimmer.
4. So if Phillips goes down, if Phillips is on IR, we keep Butler around for a little while.
If not,
Phillips
you trade
is fine.
Butler.
Butler's gone. We could either trade him or
yeah.
Awesome. I am stoked that we kept 7 wide receivers, didn't have to sacrifice Taiwan Jones, have a defensive line that's D-end heavy, and offensive line depth that pretty much fills in every position and keeps all of our young talent. I would be really happy with that 53.
Yeah. I think it's good. I'll get it up on the site tomorrow, probably.
Awesome.
For our first 53-man set. What we'll do is reconvene probably after next game. I think we should reconvene and say, where are we at? Because we don't have much time.
Changed.
Right. I mean, in the next 5 cuts, it could be Taiwan Jones gets cut, and there we go. But
then something changes.
And that kind of thing. But I think for us to get to 51 without a lot of argument is pretty solid.
I think so too, and I think it shows where we know the positionally where the strengths of the team are, and we knew we needed to. There was just too much talent at wide receiver to roll with 6, and the fact that we're able to stash Stevenson and Kumaro on the 53, I think is huge because injuries happen, and you need wide receivers in this offense. We knew the D line was showing out, and we needed to keep numbers there, and we did. We did it by sacrificing 1 offensive lineman. But is that really the 4 guys that we're keeping as depth on the offensive line all have position flexibility. So I'm not concerned at all. And we got guys that can kick inside that are starters right now, like Feliciano. So I'm comfortable with the offensive line. Yeah, I love it. I think that's a really solid 53. And hopefully
that's assuming I can count. I'll do a double count when I get home, but
for sure.
Assuming I can count, we were at 51 and now we got to 53. And awesome. I get Taiwan Jones, you get Tommy Sweeney, and Noah doesn't get a choice because he's left.
Yeah. So it's the winners of the day are us and Taiwan Jones.
That's right. So, all right, let's wrap up. This has been 716 Gameday716.com. Go to our site, love our show, give us some love, all of that kind of stuff. As Noah would say, Paul, have a great week. CJ, have a great week, even though you're not here. And then everyone be safe. Yeah, everyone be safe. Everyone stay safe. Stay healthy. And wear a mask still.
Yes, still.
Okay. We'll talk to you later.